What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Trill Bro Dude, and we're starting off great over here. It is truly in the middle of the dead season. It doesn't get any deader than in this middle of September. Every fucking podcast is doing the same Damian Lillard, James Harden, and we have no new news. Even Zach Lowe and Ramona Shelburne are clinging on to some comments that Giannis made on a podcast, but since we're in the middle of the slowest part of the year, there's no slop, there's no basketball being played. We're going to do what we do best, and we're going to try to predict Bill Simmons and Ryen Russillo's over-unders for the upcoming NBA season. So if you haven't tuned in for this episode before, basically what we do is we'll go through every single team. We'll give our thoughts on what Bill and Russillo will think about all the teams. Famously, last year, Sam had the viral clip because he predicted exactly what Bill would say about the Los Angeles Clippers. Can I see it? And Bill was right.
Bill owned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I may have won the battle, but Bill won the war. So
Absolutely owned. And then after that, we will also give our own opinions. We'll do 4 locks as well for this, just like Bill and Russillo will, and we'll give our thoughts on what ones we think that they will give their locks for as well. So before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about Underdog. I am so happy the NFL season around because I do so much better with the NFL picks than I do with the NBA picks. And on the last episode, I got the pick right. It was Jalen Hurts. It was a higher on his yardage, which was just a lock. But I also hit the Justin Jefferson pick. We did a stream this week, and I had Mark in Philly on, and Mark had his picks hit as well. And then I had another pick that I posted to Twitter that was similar. Jalen Hurts scoring a touchdown, and Justin Jefferson going off, and that hit as well. So we're on fire right now with the picks in the NFL after a slow start. And there is another promotion up on Underdog right now. Joe Burrow, go higher on his yards. It's 0.5 yards. If you go on the app today, use the promo code SLOP, that's SLOP, to get a $100 deposit match. Take that and then put it on Joe Burrow's yards higher, which is just a given. That will be a lock. Even if he gets injured on the first play like Aaron Rodgers, they will honor it as part of this promo like they did with Aaron Rodgers last week. And I went higher on Jahmyr Gibbs' yards. He is 39.5 rushing yards. Obviously, after week 1, David Montgomery was like the workhorse back for the Lions, and a lot of people got mad because Jahmyr Gibbs, they drafted in the top 15 of the draft, and everyone assumed that he was going to be the guy, and the Lions came out afterwards and said they're going to get him a lot more involved in the offense next week. I think he can hit at 40 rushing yards. So go on there today. You could throw $10 on that to win 30 on Underdog. Use the promo code SLOP, and you will be taking home some money because this is the $1 trillion picks. And we're back for another week of the NFL season. You can also go on and do their best ball as well for the weekly fantasy drafts. I'm actually in the top 3, Sam, on in our fantasy league. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. Dred's in first, of course, because Dred is the ultimate NFL sicko. Mark's in third, and I'm in second, I believe. So good start to the season for the fantasy season. Good start to the season for your number 1 overall pick, Justin Jefferson, who's been absolutely destroying.
Yeah, marathon, not a sprint. I'm not worried. I'm chilling in 8th place, just vibing. So also all of my picks off air, every single one of them missed for Thursday Night Football. So I think that thrilled from.
Let's go.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'll take it from here.
Took Jalen Hurts rushing yards, which
oof, yeah.
No, thank you.
Well, DeAndre Swift certainly got a lot of people a lot of money if you went higher on his yards because, oh my God, he had almost 200 yards rushing last night. Jalen, not so much. It's been kind of a weird start to him for the season, but go Birds nonetheless. So let's get into this because this is what the people came for. Let's start up top with, we'll go in alphabetical order just like we always do. we're not going to plug the site they use for the over-unders because they don't pay us money. But you know which site that they will be using for the over-unders. We're using the over-unders on Friday, September 15th. They're probably not going to change much in the next week or two before they do their podcast, which is usually at the beginning of October. So I think that it's pretty safe to say that most of these lines are going to remain the same. So the over-under for the Atlanta Hawks on here is 41.5.
So let's kind of review what's new with the Hawks. John Collins out.
Mm-hmm.
And then who did they? I don't even know if
They drafted Kobe Buffkin.
That's right. They drafted Kobe Buffkin. Is there anything different? Did they make any other moves in the offseason?
I mean, not anything that's really going to affect the rotation or the team. I mean, they have their dipshit Nepo baby owner son running the team now, it seems. And then there is also the fact that Trae Young, who knows how happy he is. DeJounte Murray did get paid this offseason.
Yeah.
They got rid of John Collins, and maybe that is addition by subtraction because it probably will make their spacing better on offense, I would imagine. But Collins, at the end of the day, is still a solid NBA player.
And last year, they were 41-41, perfectly 500. So
that's just, yeah. Remember the joke all season was they never were like, I think they were always within one game of 500 for the entire season.
Yeah.
And they finished 41-41. They won the play-in game against Miami, though, so they at least had that. They got the 7 seed. Regular season-wise, so they're at 41.5. I don't know. This one's tough, I'll be honest.
So let's start with Bill and Russillo. I know they're both going under. They
hate Trae, yeah.
They hate Trae. Unless, I could also see Bill taking an angle where he's like, I don't think Cal, turn the TikTok camera. I don't think Trae Young's on this team in February.
Yeah, that's a good one.
In February. And if Trae Young's not on this team, what does it look like? Are they better? I'm a DeJounte Murray guy. I love that guy. He's awesome. So, that's the only way I can see Bill talking himself into an over. But, I think they will talk about Trae getting traded and, talk about that. I think they're both going to go under. I think I'm leaning over, though, because I think the East is largely weaker than it has been in past years, and they really haven't changed that much outside of the John Collins thing. So
I totally agree with you. I think they're both going to go under, so let's lock that in for them.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's a lock, but let's put that down for them as their picks. Yeah. As far as our opinions on it, I do think the one thing that they'll bring up in this segment is that they really love their young guys, like Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu and AJ Griffin. Like they just got so many guys. Like they love to do that. That will certainly be a thing. And honestly, kind of indicated, like they all just have a bunch of really solid end of rotation players / fringe starter type guys. They don't really have anyone that kind of blows me away. I think Okongwu was a little bit overrated by NBA nerds. I think that AJ Griffin could have a really nice season, and I think that Jalen Johnson will get a lot more opportunity without John Collins. But I've always said with him is kind of like the shot will dictate how many minutes he sees on a team. Quinn Snyder really, really emphasizes spacing. I think he kind of went out of his kind of like wheelhouse last season and had to emphasize like offensive rebounding and things that he normally, I'm not saying he doesn't care about them, but like think about the Utah teams. They were always just like perfectly spaced around Rudy and Donovan Mitchell. I think those are the kind of lineups that he'll probably try to lean towards, which is why I could see AJ Griffin having a big season, and I could see the team taking a step forward in that regard. I don't know. I'm honestly, for me, I'm going to go under. I just don't. The vibes around the Hawks have always been bad.
Yeah.
I do think Quinn Snyder is a coaching upgrade, and him having a full season might be good, especially if they have improved spacing. this upcoming season, but like, I don't know. The Hawks, largely outside of that second half of 2021, have always been an underperforming team. Like, I don't think they ever play up to their talent. I don't think that they ever have good locker room vibes. I'm gonna go under, and I don't think Trey's gonna get traded, but I do think that the writing is on the wall with him in Atlanta. Like, I don't think he's gonna be there in 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. My only thing, just let me, because I'm sticking to my over, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm getting a little more sure of that. My thing is, like, they had a really bad year last year. Like, Trey was awful from three.
Yeah.
And
finishing at the rim, by the way. He shot 49% at the rim.
Like, I just don't see that. And he's like the engine that makes that team go. Like, even if up till when he gets traded, I just don't see them being worse than that. Like, and they were 41-41 last year. So I don't know. I feel pretty good about them being like a very slight over. I'm not going to lock it or anything like that, though. So.
Yeah, I'm going to go under for them. One thing that I could see Bill bringing up on here is the thing you talked about earlier. You got DeJounte, you got Trey. Who's the alpha? Who's the alpha house?
Yeah.
House. Who's the guy that there's 10 seconds left in the game saying, I want the ball, and if that guy is taking the shot and he misses it, does the other guy get mad at him? It's like those kind of things, 100% chance.
He's going to say, who would you want to play with in the pickup game? Who would you want to play with? I want to play with DeJounte Murray. Sign me up. That's going to be Bill. He's got, again, shitting on Trey. So my only thing, do we think Russillo zags a little and goes over? I'm pretty sure Bill will be under, but Russillo also like is pretty even-handed about this stuff. So I wonder. We'll leave it under. Never mind.
I think that Russillo will go on a little thing where he talks about the improved coaching and the young guys mainly. He loves the young guys in Atlanta. Like he likes a lot of those guys. Yeah,
I do too. For what it's worth,
yeah.
I really like Jalen Johnson more than most, and like I think AJ Griffin. Well, we picked AJ. Did I pick him? I think you picked him. One of us
picked him. Hidden star draft. Yeah,
our star in plain sight draft. So like we like him. So yeah, that's So there we go. 7 minutes on the Atlanta Hawks.
Let's go.
We're so back.
So, last thing on the Hawks real quick. I do wonder, you know what? Let's just move on to the next team. We've done enough on Atlanta. They've gotten enough air time here, and I don't think there's really that much to say about them.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I was going to say was Pascal Siakam. If they trade for Pascal Siakam, I'd feel a lot better about them going over, but I don't think that trade's going to happen.
I mean, it would be Trey, probably.
No, I think that they would. The latest report was that they didn't want to give up Kobe Buffkin in addition to AJ Griffin and the salary to make the deal work.
Well, I'm saying that like they would trade Trey for like the pieces to go around him, and then. There would be two separate trades, but like I don't think would Trey and Pascal play on the same team.
Yeah, I think that's the idea behind it. I think that they want. I mean, I personally am like, I still think you're just reverting back to the same issues you had with John Collins, even though Pascal Siakam's way better than John Collins. Yeah. But like from a spacing perspective, DeJounte Murray, Pascal Siakam, and Clint Capella is an issue for spacing. And what does Trey thrive with? Trey always thrives with spacing. Go look at that 2021 team. They had so much shooting around him. Like Collins had one of the best years of his career shooting wise. Kevin Huerter was lights out that season. Bogdanovich, like Capella was as a role threat. Like I'm not positive that would work, but I think that they would probably hit their over for the season just because Pascal Siakam is really good. Like just adding another legitimate all-star-ish level talent to that team. They certainly wouldn't be as good as the parts on the team. It wouldn't add up to maybe, you would think that's like a 50-win team, but I think they could win like 45 games if they traded for him. But all right, let's move on to your Boston Celtics. You expressed something about this before. It's 54.5. What were your thoughts on this before we get into the Bill and Russillo take?
I think it's too low. And I'm kind of a pessimist on the Celtics as a whole this year. But while I'm like looking at it, I've always been banging the drum that the East was like way better than people thought, and the West was kind of cheeks. I think we're flipping back this year. I think the East is kind of dog water, to be honest,
Yeah.
this year. Like, and even if Porzingis gets hurt, even if they're worse than last year, I mean, what this? I think the Celtics, yeah, they Celtics were
57 and 25.
57-25 last year. Like
51 and 31 the year before. You can go back to, if you go back to 19, 20, 48, 49, 55. They've hit this over 2 times in the last 4 seasons, 5 seasons, and then they've come close one other time. And they're obviously a different team than they were a few years ago, but last year's team won 57 games in the regular season.
I mean, like they are more versatile, you know, I mean, so more volatile. Like, you know, like there is, you know, if Porzingis gets hurt and they're like really dogging it, like if you get Porzingis and Rob hurt at the same time, like that could be a rough stretch. I don't think they're necessarily built for playoff success in the same way. I'm still very skeptical about the defense and being able to play different styles. And I think that they're very vulnerable to catching a bad matchup in a way that they like more so than they were when they had to play their worst matchup, Miami, every fucking time the last few years. So I think this is a pretty clear over, and I think I'm going to lock it, to be honest, personally. Like,
I'm not going to use my lock yet. I might come back and use it. I definitely think it's an over the more I think about it. I think you're right in that the floor could drop out from this team in a way that we haven't seen with the Celtics before. But I think especially in the regular season, the ceiling is very high. They're going to shoot 43s a game. And even if they shoot just above league average from 3 on at least 43s a game, they're going to space they're going to run a ton of spacing lineups. They're going to run basically everyone in the rotation is going to be a 3-point shooter, except for Rob, who is a role threat and a spacing threat in that regard. I think that the offense is going to be top 5. I think the defense is probably still going to be really good in the regular season. Even though I think you could take maybe a little bump because you lost Smart and, you're going to have to play a different style. It will take some time to get adjusted to, I would imagine, playing just purely drop all the time without a kind of like captain of the defense like Smart out there to kind of piece things together. But once things get rolling, I would imagine this team probably wins 55 to 60 games this year again. And I think like you could say it about any team with the health, but the Celtics do have a chance to have some bad health luck because it's kind of built into the DNA of the roster with acquiring Porzingis and relying on an aging Horford and Rob. But so many teams have question marks this year that I can't really get too caught up on that when we know the Celtics floor is probably 50 wins. So yeah, let's hit the over on that. I think that they'll probably both hit the over as well.
I agree with that. You know, I think
especially Bill, he'll be like, no Marcus Smart, another all-star, and Kristaps Porzingis.
Bill will hardly. Well, Bill always tries to pretend like he's a Smart fan, so he'll be like, I really like Marcus, I did, but like, it's like he tried to fucking trade him for Tyreek Evans in the first round. Trade Smart in a first-round pick for Tyreek Evans like a year before he was out of the league. I don't know. I think that'll be pretty easy. I think Russillo will, be the one kind of pushing back. Like, this is the things that could go wrong. If they get hurt, like I think Russillo will say all those things. But I think there'll be snide comments about Grant Williams being gone. Like, what are they going to do without Grant Williams? And then they both laugh. And then it's a lot less funny when they're losing in the Milwaukee series because they don't have anyone who can strong enough to guard Giannis. But hey.
They'll probably make a joke about him not being around to annoy everyone, asking them to play like LAN parties of Baldur's Gate and Settlers of Catan.
By the way, Grant, we're running a 3-stack right now in Baldur's Gate. I'm a monk named Lena Dunham, so like if you want to like hop in our game at any point, just
let's
get
go
in there. We've got universal overs. I feel like we all agree on this one, so. This feels like Vegas kind of betting on the Porzingis injury, which is, not a bad one. But I even think even if Porzingis gets hurt, I still think they can kind of weather the storm. Everything's kind of mid.
Yeah.
Like the East is just kind of mid. I'm sorry, like up and down.
Yeah, I think the Celtics are like in the regular season. I feel the best about the Celtics in the but the Bucks also could have the same issue with the age and injury stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like the
Yeah.
Bucks, I don't like. They're a regular season like monster, but like we've had so many years of. This feels. We'll get to it when we talk about Milwaukee, but this feels like the year that it could really get hurt. It could really be bad for the Bucks. But
Yep.
A little bit.
All right, so we will move on from the Celtics. I think they're more of a sure thing than some of these teams that we're going to talk about, just because so few teams have a talent like Tatum, a secondary guy like Jalen, a ton of really good infrastructure, and just consistency from year to year that I think will really benefit them, especially in the regular season. And so we can move on to the Brooklyn Nets, who are currently, you know what? My thought was, before I even looked at this, my thought was, oh, this is going to be a team that everyone overrates because of how they played, how they kind of were. They became kind of media darling-ish towards the end of the season. Then I remembered Vegas doesn't give a fuck about any of that stuff. So their over-under is 37.5 for next year.
Seems about right to me, to be honest.
I think it will be something in that range.
Yeah, I mean, like they won, I think 45 games last year, but that doesn't matter because it's like
what was their pace? Let's look up the Nets record after trading Kevin Durant. Yeah, Nets record, they were 11-13 after the All-Star game last year. I looked up trade deadline, but that doesn't really help me. Okay, they were 13-15, so they were 2 games below 500, and then they got swept in the playoffs by the Sixers.
13 divided by 28 is, my thing. That's
well, 40... they're just. I mean, it's equivalent. They were like 2 games below 500, essentially. I mean,
yeah, that's 38 win pace.
So that's why Vegas has it as it is. Yeah.
So,
did they make any real moves in the offseason? I mean, I like their draft. I like them getting Dariq Whitehead and taking a flyer on Noah Clowney, but I don't think he's going to have a huge impact in his first season. I think Whitehead has a chance to crack the rotation. I know they made some. Sean Marks is back on his Twitter nerd bullshit where he's signing all the darlings. I believe they signed Trendon Watford, who's been a favorite of NBA nerds. I believe they also they let Edmund Sumner go. I don't really think they made any other big moves. They didn't really make any big moves, I should say. Brought back Cam Johnson, just had a pretty quiet offseason. They're waiting to make their move, I think, until next year. I don't know. I don't really think that Bill and Russillo will have super strong opinions on this team.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't really. They traded Joe Harris, but he's kind of washed, so I don't really think that will matter.
Depending on what the Damian Lillard stuff is, I think they're going to spend this one talking about Dame, or like Bill is. They're going to be why
don't they just trade for him?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably what this, because I don't think people actually want to talk about this team because it is kind of it's a transition team. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
This team will not be the same at the trade deadline. A bunch of these guys are getting traded one way or another, during the season here. Like Dorian Finney-Smith will probably be on a new team. Royce O'Neal will probably be on a new team. A lot of these guys. So
I think Royce is pretty much a lock to get traded. Dorian Finney-Smith, it really depends on how he looks and what the value of him around the league is, because they got really good offers at the deadline and they just turned him down. So if that's the case and they do that again, because once again, Joe Tsai loves to be mid. He wants to compete and get people talking about the team. He doesn't want to tank. They've never done it under Sean Marks on purpose. And I think that it's going to be more of the same where they kind of go for that D'Lo, Karis LeVert era Nets team from a few years ago where they're sneaking into the playoffs. And Spencer Dinwiddie's still on the team, right? Yeah. The other moves that they made this offseason, they also signed Darius Baisley and Dennis Smith Jr. If you're telling me that Sean Marks doesn't have a burner on NBA Twitter, signing all of the darlings.
Yeah.
But none of these guys are going to move the needle for me. They're all just rotation players.
Yeah.
Especially Dennis Smith Jr. He was good last year.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I'm leaning under just because I think they're more likely to sell than to buy, and I
Yeah.
think kind of decide where I go on the needle here. And like, there I think there are more teams that are going to go up above them than teams that are going to like fall below them. So like Orlando, I bet gets past them in terms of like standings and development and some of this other stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go under, I think, for this team, but not by
Yeah.
much. I'm not gonna lock it.
So something that Bill and Russillo could say, especially Bill,
Mhm.
because Russillo has been kind of dejected the last few times he's went on Bill's pod.
Yeah.
Kind of is like a quiet quitting, I don't want to be here kind of vibe. But Bill will be like, I could see Bill, because we've heard whispers about Donovan Mitchell to the Nets. Like we've heard things behind the scenes about potential for if the Knicks want bigger fish like Giannis and Embiid, then the Nets could swoop in and get Donovan Mitchell a year from now because he hasn't signed his extension with the Cavs that Brian Windhorst loves to bring up.
That is starting to sound like that's like done. Like he's not going to be in Cleveland in 2 years. Like
Yeah,
no,
and he has 2 years left on his deal. So
that's
that
kind of,
if
to be honest. Like
that's an insane turnaround. Like I didn't expect it to be this quick.
I also just like I like Donovan Mitchell. But come the fuck on, man. Like who
You're
do you
not
think
that
you are?
good. Come
Yeah,
on.
who do you think you are, man? Like I don't know. Like I would be kind of scared to trade for him, to be honest. Like he's kind of starting to get the stink of loser on him. I mean, Jalen Brunson fucking ate his lunch in the playoffs, man. Like I don't know. I wanted to blame all of the Utah shit on Rudy, but it's adding up. I'm just saying.
This is what Bill's gonna say too. By the way,
Yeah,
this
I'm
is 100%.
yeah. Add up with Bill.
Kyle, turn the TikTok camera on. Is Donovan Mitchell worth it?
Yeah.
I could see the narrative turning, unless he's heard behind the scenes that the Celtics are preparing to make an offer, which is why they've been accumulating draft capital. I'm dead serious. I think that would be the one thing that Bill might be like, all right, well, let's hear it out. Let's hear Donovan Mitchell out. But I think if you're a team like,
I didn't even think about that. We might actually make an offer.
I mean, they are friends with him. Jalen and him seem to be cool. Tatum and him seem to be cool. The one thing I will say, I don't think they're going to make the offer. Not that I don't think that Mitchell might not sign like a smaller extension with the Celtics, but I do think that there is a possibility that he just wants to be in New York or Miami because he wanted to go to Miami and they traded him to Cleveland because Miami didn't have the assets a year ago and New York got cute with their offer, so they traded him to the Cavs. And my thought on this is that I think if you are a team, if you're Miami or you're New York, one of those teams, I think it's fine to make a reasonable offer and give up a decent amount of stuff for him. But if you're in another market, unless you're in a situation like the Sixers or the Bucks, where it's like the Bucks don't have enough, but the Sixers or the Bucks, in that it's like, fuck, our star's gonna leave if we don't do something. I don't think there's any team that can really take that kind of risk if you're not in New York or Miami. So that's kind of how I feel about the Donovan Mitchell situation in general. But until then, the Nets are fucking like, I think you're right. Like I think that they are likely to be sellers at the deadline more so than buyers, and I think that they're waiting until a year from now to make their move, and they're going to be cautious this time with their team building because last time they went into it way too quick and then everything blew up and it went crazy and blah blah blah. I think they're going to be patient. I think they're more likely to be sellers and reposition themselves for a move next year. So I'm going to go under on their total.
And how do we think Bill and Russillo come down on this?
I'm going to say Bill says over, and I'm going to say Russillo says under.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like I
Yep.
think Bill a little bullish on Mikal Bridges and some of these other young guys he likes. Russillo will be practical.
He'll be like, what do you need to win in today's NBA? They got a bunch of wings, 6'7". They can all shoot and defend, and it's like that is true. But they also have Spencer Dinwiddie running their offense. Like,
he's gonna say the words, "My guy Nick Claxton."
Yes, Mike, and he's right to do so. Nick Claxton has owned me. He's awesome.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. So
all right. the most depressing situation in the NBA.
Okay, let's move on to the Chicago Bulls.
Well, Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, Charlotte Hornets. Sorry, I skipped over them. 30
also,
and a half?
They're both pretty depressing. The real dogfight for who's up here, but yeah.
Charlotte certainly has a worse history in terms of depression. At least the Bulls have been successful in the last 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
The Hornets have not been great. And they're 30 and a half?
Yeah, say Bulls are also a top 5 franchise in overall championships. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Charlotte literally lost their team and then had to buy it back like the Cleveland Browns.
Well, someone in the Discord earlier was trying to build an all Charlotte team between the Bobcats and the Hornets.
Oh no!
And it was very depressing. It was already LaMelo and Kemba or Baron Davis as the other backcourt member, and then Gerald Wallace, and it was
tough.
It was pretty gross. Okay, so what did Charlotte do this offseason? They lost Dennis Smith Jr., Kelly Oubre. They drafted Brandon Miller, Nick Smith Jr., and Amari Bailey. They had Kai Jones off of what seems to be, I don't know if he's on 2CB or something. He's been going insane on Instagram in the last week. He had an Instagram live where he was soaked in sweat, and I don't know if he popped a Molly or what, but he was going wild on there. Then he was talking shit on Mark Williams. So that's not great. The vibes in Charlotte could not be worse. They also brought back Miles Bridges, which is gross.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're bottom, absolute bottom of the barrel vibes team.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, just a quick aside. Kevin Porter Jr. is in the news for some really horrific shit. Why is Miles Bridges just allowed back in the league and Kevin Porter Jr. is just never going to be able to play? They both should be completely banned. We should have a no tolerance rule for this shit, dude.
Well, I mean, obviously. I mean, the reason is that Miles Bridges is better at basketball, so that's the gross reason, but that's why, he's going to be, kicking around the league. I mean, I agree. Obviously, I 100% agree with you though. I mean, we shouldn't forget about that, because that's the thing is we saw this with Ben Roethlisberger. When something bad happens, like this, when somebody does something really gross and horrific, they just kind of ownership and the people in the league just kind of bring him back, and then the media have 2 options. They can run it into the ground or just move on, and they always choose to move on.
They don't want to lose their access a lot of the times.
Right.
I mean, that's the majority of how the business is built, is that the ownership controls everything. And if you're questioning the star player, not that Miles Bridges is a star, he's just he's a good player. He's a bad person, good player. But my point on this is that I think that it's just time to have a no tolerance rule for domestic abuse. It's just any sexual assault, domestic abuse, complete no tolerance. They just need to institute one. It's insane that we've had instances of, and it's not like we're just hearing rumors. It's people are being put in the hospital over this shit.
Yeah.
And that's where it's you have to draw the line somewhere. And I don't know. I just think it's gross that Charlotte is able to bring him back, and that Kevin Porter Jr. is in the news and is probably never going to see the court again, but Miles Bridges can play. They both should be not able to ever play again.
Yeah. All right. Our disgusting Charlotte Hornets, 30 and a half.
I kind of think they're going to be. I kind of think they're going to go over, to be honest.
So last year, 27 and 55. So this is a 4-win improvement we're looking at here.
LaMelo Ball missed almost all of last season. He only played in 20 games.
Okay.
And if you look at his record, they're 7 games below 500 with LaMelo Ball in his career.
Okay. What's that percentage? Is that 40 something percent? Or
I could look it up right now, because I remember being surprised how good they were when LaMelo actually plays.
Mm-hmm. And Gordon Hayward playing probably also has something to do with it. Like when
Okay, I was a little bit off. They're 12 games below 500. So that's a 46% winning percentage.
That's still higher. That's still probably going to end up being mid 30s. If you multiply that out. So
yeah,
that's a pretty like good pace.
And like you could say that about Gordon Hayward, but he misses 30 games every year. Yeah.
It's 37. It's almost 38 wins pace, by the way.
38 wins, and who have they lost that is like a huge addition to winning from 2 years ago?
I mean, if they're going to play Miles Bridges, he will probably help them win basketball games, even though
Gordon Hayward, if he can stay healthy, probably the same thing. Mark Williams is honestly an improvement over what they had at the center position, arguably, over like Plumlee or Zeller or whoever they had before. So, what's that?
I like Nick Richards, though.
Oh, yeah, but Nick Richards is their backup, and like that's a solid backup center to have. Yeah. Like, I think that they'll win like 33 or 34 games. Like last year, this was one of our locks. I think Bill and Russillo also had locks for this on the under last year, because remember it was like 38, and we're like, this team is not good. And then LaMelo got hurt, and we're like, they're like the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
So
we made pretty easy on that one. It was a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
Boy. 4 wins though. I don't know.
4 wins when LaMelo Ball did not play. LaMelo Ball is by far their best player.
But are we sure LaMelo's
played 36 games last year?
But he's also like missed a lot of time. Like, are we sure LaMelo can stay on the court?
He played 75 games the year before and 51 in a shortened season the year before, so he missed 20 games in his rookie year.
I forgot that year was short. Because that's what I was looking at. I was like, boy, only played. All right, I'm going to join you on the over, but I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not.
I'm not doing it as a lock now, but I feel pretty good about them winning like 33 games.
How do we feel about Bill and Russillo on this one?
I think they're both going to go under. I think that they're going to be. Bill, did they like Brandon Miller? No, Bill was a scoot guy. I don't even see. That's the thing, is like he doesn't even have that to cling on to. I think Bill and Russillo both hate LaMelo Ball, and I think that they both have it in their minds that the Hornets have been one of the worst teams in the NBA with LaMelo, when in reality, when he's been healthy, they actually made the play-in both times.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it. Like, if LaMelo has somewhat decent health, I think that they're going to cling on to, does LaMelo start to look around after this year kind of thing? Like, does he want to get out of there? Does he want to fleet out the Lakers? They'll definitely bring it up as like, oh, he wants to go to LA, play for the Lakers, whatever. I think that they'll view it more as this team's just a tire fire, which they might totally be right. I think, like I said, shitty organization, terrible vibes. Bill will definitely bring up potential for new ownership syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Huge trade happening, maybe with Miles Bridges' expiring contract because he picked up his qualifying option.
Mm-hmm.
A few guys that they can move, like some draft. They have all their draft picks. New owner syndrome.
Gordon Hayward's expiring this year, I think, right?
Expiring Gordon Hayward.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options. They could make a big swing. Giannis
to Charlotte.
Let's go.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You think Bill will bring up Steph?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Fuck, I always forget.
Yeah. He loves the Steph in Charlotte thing. He loves
House. A year from now, Steph is looking around at Golden State and he's saying, Clay's a free agent. Chris Paul's 40 years old.
Yeah.
Draymond's on this big contract now, but we don't know what's going to happen with Draymond. Kuminga hasn't taken the leap that we all thought he would, a.k.a. I thought he would.
Yeah.
And it's just like him and Wiggins and none of the other young guys have popped. Does he want to go home to Charlotte, play in front of his dad who's calling every game?
See, what is this going to happen? He could play with LaMelo Ball, who he was destined to. For Joe Lacob blew it. Like, Tate will be there. Tate, you love this. I ran this by Tate. He thinks like that will definitely. I'm sure if that doesn't happen during this podcast, that will happen like during a trade deadline podcast or
100%.
something next offseason. Like that'll.
What if Brandon Miller looks awesome?
Yeah.
I'm just saying the young guys and Steph.
Yeah. Bill will
Also, Bill will always do that without factoring in that you have to trade a lot to get Steph Curry.
yeah.
He loves to do that.
What would it take for? I mean, I guess if Steph asked for it, like they would probably accommodate him. But like, if Steph didn't ask for it, there's like no way the Warriors would trade like the greatest franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's 0% chance.
Also,
Like,
Steph has said many times he wants to remain on the Warriors, and I think that he will until they kind of maybe fuck it up and have to force him to leave. But I don't know.
he's got a lot of areas to rezone as non. So he's got a lot of work to do in the Bay Area still.
There's a lot of land in the South. There's a lot of land.
North Carolina.
He's buying up apartment complexes.
Steph says, "I want to team up with Pat Connaughton. Pat Connaughton meet me in North Carolina. We are gonna
CJ McCollum, Pat Connaughton, big three on the East Coast, owning all from North Carolina up to the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania."
He's got all his whole crew, his entourage, his waves, and Hannibal Buress, and all the famous landlords. They're gonna do it. All right, I've penciled them in for unders.
Okay, yeah, they're unders. I'm going over.
Yeah, we're both going over. So
okay.
You and I have agreed on everything except Atlanta so far.
Yeah.
So.
Which is a theme because you were high on Atlanta last year and I was not.
Yeah.
So
we're going to the next one now. We're going to
Chicago.
The Kevin Help Fund Mental Health Awareness Chicago over under. We love Kevin. We're hoping that this is a better season for him. I'm not hopeful, but
sell the team, Jerry Reinsdorf, please.
Please. Our friend Kevin, he's very sick. We need this.
37 and a half? That's
a lot. There were 40 and 42 last year.
It's really unfortunate because I look at Chicago's roster and they have decent talent.
Yeah.
But like the league has gotten so much better. Yeah. And DeMar was in God mode 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When they made that push and Lonzo was healthy. And like, look, is there a outlet to them winning 40 games? Sure, there's a way. Like you can figure out a path to that, but that really involves like most of their young guys who haven't proven anything beyond just being like solid rotation role players, making incremental steps, and they don't like a pretty big leap from like Patrick Williams or Kobe White or one of these guys. And at the end of the day, they don't really want to do that. Like they want to win 40 games and that their rotation's better. Like they got Javon Carter and Torrey Craig and like just solid veterans. But I don't know. I just think that as the league gets more and more talented and the vibes remain really weird in Chicago,
I think there's a threat they trade Zach.
Yeah, I think so too.
Is the other thing, which is why I will be going under. Not
Same.
I think that this line is like bad. I think it's actually a pretty good line for the Bulls. That's probably where I'd put it. But I tend to think that they're going to trade Zach at some point this year.
What team do you think that Bill will say that will try to trade for Zach? That would be Lakers, Sixers. I think the Sixers could be on there because of the Harden thing.
Yeah.
I think maybe Miami if they miss out on Dame. Like Portland just doesn't trade him.
God, he would be so good in Miami.
Yeah, we can't let that happen.
Yeah, I want that to happen. Like I know he would become like infuriatingly like he would have a Jimmy like renaissance. Like there can't be Chicago is the minor league team for my story. Like
yeah, just for the optics, you can't do it if you're Chicago.
Yeah, come on. Like don't. That would really make Kevin. I don't know the Joker mode. Like I don't know. Like I guess he doesn't hate Miami the same way I do. If Zach,
but if that happened, he would no. He said if that does happen, he's going to become a Miami fan, and he's good because he hates the Chicago's ownership so much.
That's a fate worse than death. Like you don't want anyone, and you don't want any of your loved ones' friends becoming Miami Heat fans. That's just sad. Like I can't have Kevin on Levitard saying that like he hates workers, and
Yeah.
Kevin the Proud Communist joining Miami just immediately.
He becomes he becomes that David Sampson guy who goes on there and he's like, I think it's really cool when CEOs evict their own employees from their house. I think it's great. I think it's awesome when children sleep on the street. Anyway, yes, my dad is worth $100 million. My stepdad, I apologize.
I'm picturing Kevin he doesn't have advanced analytics anymore. And so he just becomes a Miami guy with like an unbuttoned shirt, like in like shades, and just like really leans into it. And it's like you took his Bulls, his Zach, and his analytics. Now this man pushed to the breaking point.
Oh yeah, Silver's taken away the numbers possibly, so that the data nerds can't scrub.
Yeah. The Bulls 41 wins for my friend Kevin. He deserves this, please.
Yeah. I think Bill and Russillo will also agree. I think everyone's going to be out on the Bulls for this upcoming season.
I agree.
Yeah. So I think they're going to go under. Billy in the comments says he thinks that Bill will bring up Zach to the Bucks. I just think that Bill, two reasons why I don't think Bill. One, he doesn't want that to happen because he doesn't want the Bucks to get better because he views them as one of the few threats to the Celtics. And two, I think that he's going to realize they just don't have enough.
Well, he's also got a crazy view on Drew Holiday. He's not going to want his guy in the trade, and that would, I don't know. Drew might have to be involved. I don't know.
I'm not sure if you've heard this, but if he was going to war, he would want Drew Holiday on the side.
He like goes into like football guy mode when he
does.
Holiday. There's one guy you want in your corner and you're full. It's that man, He's an adult. He's a lunch pail guy.
He shows up first, leaves last.
Yeah, like all the shit Jimmy Butler propaganda like he wants about him, like Bill conjures to life about Drew Holiday.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so good. I think part of me wonders if that's, I don't think Bill thinks this deep, but I wonder if it's subconscious, a twist of the knife for the Sixers process because we traded Drew and then he went on to be honestly better than we all anticipated. I don't think that we would have thought that we would be debating whether Drew Holiday could ever be like a borderline Hall of Famer type guy. Like that's like his career has, considering the way that his career, even though look, he did make the All-Star team when he was like 23. It was kind of a Mickey Mouse All-Star team, but I think that his career has turned out about as good, and there's no one that loves him as much as Bill, which is so funny because he hated Smart for so long, and they're such similar players, especially in the playoffs. Like Smart's been better at times than Drew, but he's got those moments. He'll never be able to forget the moment when Marcus turned the ball over late and Drew stole it and won the game for the Bucks.
Well, it's just he's got the brain worm that convinces. Because I get it. Like it is maddening to watch like Jason Tatum be so good and then like just be fucking dog shit for like no reason. So like Bill, his theory at least makes sense where it's like, oh, it's Marcus Smart's fault that Jason Tatum is just randomly dog shit at the end of games. Versus me, who's just like, this man is not built for it. He is the I hate my franchise player with my life unless he can except when I think he's an MVP.
Except for when you draft him 4th overall in the best player draft.
I'm saying, like, I don't know.
Love-hate relationship.
He's gonna make me the Joker, Jason Tatum. It's like one of these things where like I think he's a better player than like most people, but I'm also way more put on him because it's like the ghost of Kobe Bryant has cursed him. He's like being haunted by him. I don't know. Anyway.
Aaron, who's a Bucks fan in the comments, if there's one guy you want to go 3 for 25 in the playoffs, it's Drew Holiday. His true shooting percentage in the playoffs blows my mind. I think Will did this and he took out the one series against the Bulls from like 2 years ago when it was the Bulls. Like they just weren't that. And his true shooting percentage is like 47 in the playoffs. It's so bad, dude.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, he's a very, very good player. It's just he seemingly forgets how to shoot every single playoffs. It's wild. But, all right, let's get into the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are next. We talked about the Cavs a little bit because of the Donovan Mitchell thing earlier. They're at 50.5 for their over-under.
51 and 31 last year.
I'm going over and I'm locking it.
Woo!
Regular season,
51, or so that's 50 and a half, right?
50 and a half. So if they're going to get 51 and a half, I'm sorry, 50 and a half, they just have to get 51 wins. They got 51 wins last year with 0 wings on the whole team and no one who could shoot.
Let's go through it again. So they kept Karis LeVert. They brought in Max Strus
and George Niang.
Who else did they lose? They didn't really lose anyone.
Lamar Stevens. No one cares.
I think he's not even on. Is he on the team? Ricky Rubio.
Rubio's still on the team.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. They still have Karis LeVert, who I think will probably be a 6-man, if Max. So
Max, my guess is their starting lineup is Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Mobley, Allen with LeVert, Okoro, Niang.
Yeah.
And then whoever, there's plenty of guys that could crack the rotation that are at the further into their roster.
And I just got done saying the East is really made. I'm not going to lock it, but I'm definitely going to join you on the over.
I'm locking it. I'm high on the Cavs in the regular season next year. I think they're going to be a top 3 seed. I think that with the regression of the Sixers,
they probably will be by default because again, the East is probably going to be dog water next year. So,
yeah, potential regression of the Sixers with the James Harden situation. I think that the Bucks could get a little bit older and slip a little bit. I think the Celtics are the only team that I feel confident about having a better record than them. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Cavs as a lock on that. How do we think? Yeah, I mean, look, Isaiah Mobley was really good in summer league. He might be in their rotation at some point. They just have a lot of NBA players. Shetty Osman still on the team, I believe, or did he get traded? He might have got traded for salary matching. Yeah,
if I remember correctly, let me look this up.
I'm looking this up. Yeah, he's on the Spurs now.
Okay.
So all right, so we need to look up their current roster.
Love that for Chetty. I can't wait to take the Spurs over.
They did just sign Tristan Thompson though, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's a real depth end 15th man type signing. I don't think Amani Bates is going to play, but
that sank that having Tristan Thompson on the team sank the COVID Celtics because he just would not stop going out to clubs and getting COVID and giving it to the whole team.
Yeah, well, that's why you bring him in for your locker room in 2023. It was so funny. Someone talked about this in the Discord the other day. They were like, it's so funny that every few months, Tristan Thompson is on ESPN talking about how to play against Jokic in the playoffs. And then 2 months later, he's guarding Jokic in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then he's back in on ESPN for the offseason. And then he's back in the league for the following season. It's really strange that he keeps getting these random roster spots.
Hey, I mean, let's just say Tristan Thompson is really good at being in a situation where he's on the outs back into it.
Time and time again. He's irresistible, folks.
Yeah, he's a smooth talker, man.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, look, he can convince rich people of anything, apparently.
Yeah. You can convince rich people he's changed very easily. One of the favorite things to do.
Many times.
I think both Bill and Russillo are going to be over on the Cavs. I think
and they're going to gush about. They will gush about Garland. They will gush about Mobley. But I do think that they're going to be like, "Are we worried about the playoffs?" Bill will be like, "Are we worried about Mobley?" But this is for regular season.
I think Mitchell's going to be the one that they direct their ire at. We talked. I think Bill is going to be like, there's starting to be a little stink on him. I call it the Vince Carter stink. Vince Carter stink on him, folks.
He started really good. We were like, wow, this guy's an incredible athlete. And then every time it comes around to the playoffs, he's getting punked by 6-foot Jalen Brunson.
I was talking to my daughter about this. She calls it the Regina George mean girl. She didn't actually say that. I said, it sounded like something my daughter would say.
I was going to say, his daughter who was born the year that Mean Girls came out references. I told you about this, or you saw my tweet about I was watching those two. They're like probably college age guys doing they were reacting to the Nintendo Direct that happened the other day, and they were talking about Tomb Raider, and they were like, "Oh, these games are before our time," and I was like, "Oh, that makes me feel old." And then the one guy goes, "Yeah, I think my mom played this game," and I was like, "I feel ancient.
Shit.
I feel ancient listening to them talk about Tomb Raider."
These guys haven't been in the trenches like me, like furiously looking up on game FAQs if there really was a Game Shark hack to take Lara Croft's top off.
9-year-old Sam fucking in the trenches. Yeah.
Hitting Alt Tab as fast as I could when my mom came in the room. What are you doing? Nothing. Not trying to see pyramid shaped boobs on my PlayStation.
Why are there so many viruses on the computer, Sam?
Just going to FAQs again to try.
I heard there's a rumor that you can see her boobs in the game. It's in the code.
It's there. Who would lie about this?
Yeah. Anyone under the age of 30 is like, no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. No,
who is Lara Croft?
Yeah, early internet, like you could just lie on there and had any internet direction. So like lots of children were like, yeah, you can see Lara Croft's boobs.
Yeah. This was the pre-Grand Theft Auto era of video games too, so it was before like video games were truly corrupted and like horrible shit could happen in them. That was like the craziest thing that could happen in a video game in 1999.
It was anyway, just be glad you don't live in the lean times Trill and I grew up in, young listeners. So
on my PS1 with I had the little screen that you could do.
It also, when a cutscene would happen, it sounded like a helicopter landing.
Load times were just insane on those old videos. Like sometimes I go back and play them, and I'm like, oh my god, how did we wasted so much of our lives on load screens?
Oh man, I remember having to turn up the volume like several notches on my Dreamcast whenever they went into like a cutscene because.
Sonic Adventure would be like,
yeah.
And you played RPGs, so I'm sure in like what was the big RPG on Dreamcast?
Grandia 2. Like you'd boot up like one of the summons, and it would just immediately go. Sounded like a laser printer, like going off in your living room. It was awesome.
It was ahead of its time, though. That system was truly ahead of its time.
It deserved so much better than it got.
It really did. I love that system. So I didn't have one, but my best friend did, and we would play it all. Dude, the last like really good Sonic games, Power Stone. I don't know if you remember Power Stone, but that game is really
Power Stone. No.
Yeah. Power Stone was great. House of the Dead was really good on there. Yeah.
House of the Dead was a great one. Yeah, Sonic Adventure was like the big one that fucking rocked though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, well, they could go toe to toe with Nintendo and Mario, and then every game since has sucked. Yeah. Except for like 1 or 2 has been like okay.
That's and they didn't have Yakuza yet to save them.
No, they didn't. No, Sega had nothing at that. It was literally just Sonic.
Yeah.
Because they gave up on all their other franchises.
Kiryu didn't show up until like 5 years later, and by then it was too late. So they could have saved themselves.
Yeah.
Just a little too late. So sad.
Yeah, so RIP to the Dreamcast. You could go on SegaNet and you could play on the internet in 1999. It was so ahead of its time, dude.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm realizing I think we might have to break this into a 2-parter.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna have to be a 2-parter.
Yeah.
We're at an hour and we're only at the Mavericks. So we'll see. We probably should have done it by conference, but here we are.
15 and 15, alphabetical order. We love it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do the early episode next week. We'll do it. So
yeah,
this is what you get. We did a lot of fucking content. Sign up for the Patreon if you have not already, because I did an Eagles stream. I posted the audio there. We did an episode with Joey and Sean that was so good that I can't post it publicly because I don't want to get assassinated.
We're worried about litigation.
But it's great. It's awesome.
It's really good. It is really. It's probably my favorite one that I've done, but I feel like I can't promote it too much, or one of you awful people is going to send it to Mark Cuban, and then we'll be sued into oblivion. So don't do that.
Yes, but it is great, and people have called it one of our best episodes. So
yeah.
All right. So The Dallas Mavericks are 44.5.
They were last year. This doesn't matter. 38-44.
Yeah, they've changed so much.
They've
but yeah, got Kyrie at the deadline. Grant Williams was added to the team. They
got
drafted Lively and Omax.
Lively and Omax. Didn't they
Cut
add
JaVale McGee.
Rashawn Holmes?
They added Rashawn Holmes. Jesus, their whole team is different.
Yeah.
This was very much like we need to make Luka happy now off season. So
yeah. And I'll say it again. I thought they were so fucked going into this offseason. I don't think they could have had a better offseason. I think they really killed it.
For the limited assets they had, they did about as good as you would expect.
This is about as good as they possibly could have done. Now, is it enough? I don't know.
Yeah. Until the Spurs get the number 1 pick in the 2029 draft or whenever they traded that swap to get off the Reggie Bullock contract. But overall, I like their rotation a lot. Luka, look, even with Luka last year, they were 500. Like, even with their disaster season, they were 500 when their best player played. And he played most of the games and was completely burnt out by the end of the season. And I think they improved a lot. I think everyone's going to go over here, right?
So will Bill and Russillo, though? Because the thing is does Kyrie Irving watch another documentary in the middle of this?
Oh, fuck, right.
Like,
also, Bill will be Kyrie to the Lakers this entire segment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially because Jared Vanderbilt just signed that deal for like 4 years, $48 million. Like, they have the Rui contract, the D'Lo contract, all these moves.
Can I say something, Russillo? Conspiracy Bill was looking at these contract numbers that they were giving out. I added them up. You know what they add up to? Too much money for Kyrie Irving. But if you include Grant Williams, that lines up. My bells and whistles are going off. I've seen this too many times.
It's 100% chance that happens.
Yeah.
Or Rashawn Holmes, he'll say. If you add in Rashawn Holmes' expiring contract, and I like Rashawn Holmes, by the way. I don't know what happened to him. He was good for the Kings 3 years ago.
Yeah. So here's the thing, is I do think I'm going to be changing my tune this season. I think the West is better than the East. Again, I think we've swung back the other way again. I think it's really competitive in the West right now. Like,
sure.
I don't know. Where are your easy wins in the West? Like,
there's not a lot.
There's not a lot. Like, the worst team in the West is maybe the Blazers after they trade Dame. And, like, they're still probably going to have Grant. Houston is, like, has real players now, some of them, and a real coach.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, like, I kind of like Minnesota. Like, New Orleans is a healthy Zion away from being problematic. Who knows? Wemby probably will not be, great this year, but like there's a chance. There's a world.
The Rockets are going to be like the worst team again. It's going to be like the Rockets or I guess the Spurs. No, the Blazers. The Blazers and the Rockets.
Blazers. I think the Blazers are going to be worse, but like there is not a lot of easy outs in the West.
No.
Like, the Jazz are probably going to be like the next worst team, and they're pretty good. Like, they're going to sell their way to being bad, but like, I don't know. That's the thing is, I think
the Rockets and the Jazz have potential to win like 30 games. So like, and like, they're going to want to compete every night, especially the Rockets, because that GM's fighting for his life.
In spite of the fact that I liked their offseason, I think I'm going to zag here, and I think I'm going to go under.
On the Mavs. Okay, so you're going under on the Mavs.
Yeah.
The conference is really tough. There's definitely an argument to be had that the conference is just too hard and that they're not going to be able to muster up enough. But I don't know. I think Luka's going to probably have, like, he was still so insanely good for a chunk of last year. And before they really fell, like the wheels fell off in the second half of that season.
Yeah.
Like badly. And I just don't anticipate that happening again. But I mean, honestly, who knows? Like, we've talked about like the vibes on other teams. They're a 5-game losing streak away from having terrible vibes, and I don't really think Luka cares about like. I don't think he's like super dedicated to Dallas and like
No.
making it work there. So like if shit goes sideways, like he might just be like, this is a nightmare. Like, and he'll get that Supermax contract a year from now or whenever he can sign it. A year or two from now, whenever that is. And I think that will be kind of the beginning of the end if they can't turn this thing around here. But I'm still gonna stick with the over for this one.
Okay.
I do like them to be a good regular season team, but I could see them being the sneaky low seed that no one really wants to see because of Luka in the playoffs as well. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so how many teams have we done so far? We did Atlanta, Boston, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Chicago, Cleveland, Dallas.
That's 7?
That's 7.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we're definitely a two-parter. We're an hour and 5 minutes in.
Yes. Okay, so we'll do Detroit here. 28 and a half wins.
Denver.
Oh, Denver? Did I skip Denver?
You skipped Denver.
Oh, Denver was below Detroit on this for me.
Oh, that's weird. That is not alphabetical. These guys are they're doing too much.
Weird. All right.
Well, let's just do Denver just to get that out of the way then. Yeah, they are lower on this. This other website is not very good. They could be good if they sponsored some of us. Yeah, but they contributed some of it, but no, they're dog water.
52 and a half anonymous gambling website.
Yeah, this gambling website says 52 and a half for Denver. So on the one hand, everything I just said about the West. On the other hand, I think Denver is kind of a Terminator. Like, I think they're pretty good. I think they're
regular season monsters. I mean, they won the title, but like, I think that they're just going to win 55 games every year. Jokic is healthy.
I'm probably, depending on how the Celtics look throughout the regular season, coming into the year, I'm probably picking them as my champion. Just because I think they're still ahead above all the other like top West teams. Like I think there's a big, like I think there's Denver and then there's like 7 teams that could all jump each other, but I think Denver's still a little bit head and shoulders above everybody else. I feel pretty good about this. 53 is not that many wins. Jokic doesn't really get hurt. I think I might actually lock this, to be honest.
Yeah, Jokic does not get hurt.
Yeah.
The question mark, we had this as a lock last year because it was way too low. And I remember talking you into it because I was like, they didn't have Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, and they were like 3 or 4 games shy of what their line was last year.
Yeah.
Their 52 and a half is, because the conference is better, it's still going to be tough. But
can I say this? Because I didn't realize this. They were 53 and 29 last year.
But they just tanked the end of the season. They were on pace to win like 58 games, 60 games.
Yeah.
And then they just stopped giving a fuck. But also, that could happen again this year. Like, maybe this is the new formula. Maybe they just run away with the conference. And then at the end of the year, they're just like, fuck it. Who cares? But
I'm sticking to my guns, though. I'm locking it.
All right. I'm not locking it, but I'm going to go over. I've only done one lock so far. I'll probably change that at some point. But I'm going to go over it. Ryen Russillo, come on. Jokic, Bill's guy. They're going to say, Bill's going to be like, I love what they did, getting young guys, bringing in more, just taking more cracks on young guys in the draft. They did lose Bruce Brown, which is I love Bruce Brown. He's a winner. Mm-hmm. I love him. But he got paid a lot, and like with Jokic, you could just plop someone in there, and he can take them to that next level. And who knows? Maybe we'll see a breakout from Peyton Watson or Julian Strother.
I did kind of like their draft a lot. Like on
their draft was good, yeah.
Yeah, like I kind of like Julian Strother as like another like Christian Brown style like
plug and play type dude. Yeah.
I just think if there's not another freak Jamal Murray incident, like he was back to being Jamal Murray, and it took him a while to get going last year too.
Yeah.
So, and Michael Porter Jr. like figured it out.
Maybe he's fixed. Maybe the back is like normal now.
Yeah. I realized the 2 that I locked are the 2 best teams in the NBA, which is like it's like a very front runnery thing to do, but like I really believe that though. I don't know. Like I just think I don't see any reason why they would be. I don't think Bruce Brown is worth, that much of a difference for them. So I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. I'll go with over for them too.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
Detroit.
The be nice to my friend Tom section of the program.
Tom said we can't talk about him like he's a terminal cancer patient anymore.
Well, it's actually sadder. He's a Detroit Pistons fan. His Lions are good though. The Lions are good, so he's got something. Yeah, it's fine.
No, the Lions are awesome. Yeah, they're gonna be a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown taking my fantasy team to the promised land. But Detroit, their over under is settled in at
28.5.
28.5. Last year, they were 17-65.
Oh my god. Oof.
I hate to say it. I'm going under again. I might lock this one too. They're so bad, man. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go under too.
I
mean, they still just have the least amount of NBA players of any team that we're looking at. Like, no proven talent. Like, it's all theoretical.
They owned me so bad, and like Troy Weaver and his big guy thing he did last year scared the shit out of me. I don't think he knows what he's doing. Yeah. I think to get fired, and they need to. Like, I like Asar Thompson a lot. Like, I actually really like that part of their draft. I think he could be better than Ahmed. I'm one of the few Asar-pilled pro Asar guys, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I think it's going to be nasty and gross. I think they feel like the Kings felt before they got fixed. Yeah. It's always going to be bad all the time. Now, what do Bill? I remember
Russillo loves Cade.
That's the thing.
Bill's more skeptical on Cade now because he doesn't think he could stay healthy. And he also was a Mobley guy.
That's true, yeah.
So he's like, he'll be like, Cade, we're going into year 3. We haven't seen much from him. I'd rather have Mobley. I'd rather have Franz. Like, he'll do that, which I'm so glad that everyone has caught up with Franz and that, like, he's probably the best player, if not the second best player from his draft.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really good. So are we thinking Bill under, Russillo over?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
But I do think Russillo is going to be skeptical. He's just going to say, this line is so low. This is so low. If Cade plays 60 games, 70 games,
yeah,
he loves Cade. He voted for Cade for Rookie of the Year.
That's crazy.
So, I will say, I was skeptical of Cade winning and being in the conversation. I think he came in third for Rookie of the Year because my whole thing has always been, if you're good from February to April, I don't care. I don't think that matters at all. But I will say, after being like historically bad to start his rookie year, remember he shot so bad to start his rookie year? He shot like in the 20s from like the low 20s from 3 and like in the 30s, and then eventually kind of caught a groove and had a nice end to his rookie season. But I'm just like, they're still so far away from like, Cade needs to stay healthy and prove that he is the guy people think he can be.
They need to like they need to not have fucking Marvin Bagley and James Wiseman and
blocking Jalen Duren's minutes.
That's what I'm saying. They need to play Jalen Duren. I don't even mind Beef. I actually like Beef Stew more than most people. So like, I get that everyone really hated that extension. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It's the worst thing in the world when you have fucking Wiseman and Marvin Bagley on your squad, though. Like, you need to play smaller with like the guys.
They do have Monty Williams, though. Maybe Monty will actually like be like, all right, we're not playing these guys. But then again, like, I don't know how much of Phoenix's success was due to Monty Williams and how much was it due to Chris Paul and Devin Booker.
I think Dwayne Casey robbed Brad Stevens for Coach of the year that he won it, but I also think Dwayne Casey is like a pretty good coach. It's not like Dwayne Casey's a bad coach.
I don't know. He's fine. Yeah,
I'm just saying I don't expect Monty Williams to be like a huge improvement over Dwayne Casey. Like maybe I just have too much respect for Dwayne Casey, but I think Dwayne Casey is like a professional NBA coach who like understands things. I think you're just screwed when Troy Weaver is your GM, like, and there's nothing to be done there. So
I mean, like, my thing with them is like they have no shooting outside of Bojan Bogdanovic, who could fall off a cliff,
Yeah.
and Joe Harris, who has looked washed for 2 years. Like, and Alec Burks, I guess.
Shooting, which is crazy. Like,
What's that?
Cade is gonna have to be there shooting. Like you don't almost have to like put the ball in Jaden Ivey's hands and have Cade like as like your
Connecting piece, like
yeah.
shooting through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, that's the big thing for him. The weird thing with Cade is that like he had that really good shooting season in college, but that kind of looks like an outlier from three, and he also shoots really well from the line, but like his catch and shoot numbers aren't good in the NBA. Like he's been a bad 3-point shooter and no one really talks about it. It's kind of strange. But yeah, that's going to be a huge look. If Cade can shoot and they can figure out some of the logjam, I could see them maybe reaching 30 wins, but I kind of think that's their ceiling. Like I'm betting on another 25 win season for this team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I feel about the Pistons.
I think that's fair.
And it sucks because it's not like a good draft next year, so it's not even like fun to tank.
I also just I don't know. I feel so bad for Pistons fans because the other thing is I kind of like a lot of their players too. Like
Sure.
I think these guys could be good. It's just Trey Weaver is I think the worst GM in the NBA like right now. Like and there's a guy out there who did a Rudy Gobert trade. like it's really fucking bad. I'd be furious if I were like a Pistons fan because I think they could have been on like an Orlando like style trajectory by now. They had a normal GM, but
yeah. All right. So Golden State is up next.
So 48.5. Last year 44 wins. Is Chris Paul
replaced 5 wins?
Yeah, Jordan Poole. But also, unfortunately, Brandon Podcast did become a Golden State Warrior. So
I don't know how much he's gonna play though.
I think he's gonna play. I think they kind of need him, to be honest. Like, they lost Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
They
do need that white guy shooter role.
Yeah, well, and they don't have like Gary Payton like always kind of gets hurt. Sure. So who else? I remember they signed someone that was pretty good. I don't think Chris Paul is going to play that many minutes. I think people are going to be kind of surprised by how few minutes Chris Paul plays. Boy, but I don't know. I'm looking at their depth chart.
Dario Saric was who they signed. They also signed. Yeah,
Dario Saric.
Corey Joseph.
It's very funny.
Yeah, no, I guess he is going to play.
Like,
unless they just play bigger and they play Moses Moody more. But Moses Moody has not been very good in his first 2 years. He's actually been pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody are like very so like I don't know. Like I think Brandon Podcast should at least get some like burn to see what they got. I also kind of like Trace Jackson Davis, to be honest. He's not going to play, but
yeah, he was like the 58th pick in the draft, so they probably don't have like a ton of urgency to play him, but he is good. He's like a good basketball player.
Yeah, so like
he's also 23. Like he could play immediately, but they just brought in Dwight Howard for a workout today. And they signed Usman Garuba. So they know that they have issues with bigs. Like they know that they're going to have I think Trace Jackson Davis could play. I think that, it's possible both the rookies play. I mean, Moody and Kuminga have not been good, but I think Kuminga just has to play because they just don't have any other wings. Wiggins is their only wing. They play Gary Payton sometimes as a wing, but you already brought up the fact that he gets hurt all the time. I think that Kerr does like high field players, and that's what Trace Jackson Davis and Brandon Podcast have going for them over a guy like Kuminga, who's just more like a raw, talented, like athlete type dude. So yeah, I don't know. What do we think that Bill and Russillo will say about this? Because I think they're kind of like going to say the clock's ticking on, like, I think that they're saying what we talked about earlier with the potential Steph trade and like Clay not getting an extension, and they paid Draymond, and how does he look now that he's been paid, and Chris Paul's old, whatever. I think that they're going to be lower on the Warriors.
No, Russillo is going to be in.
Oh, right. No, but is he still in on Chris Paul though? Like I feel like
I think he's committed. Like he's not happy about it, but I
Sure.
think you know.
Do you remember 2 years ago when they lost in that embarrassing Game 7 when they got destroyed by the Suns? And Russillo was on the podcast, and it was like he just lost a family member.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, great. Take it to commercial." That was probably the start of him just being completely lifeless on Bill Pods.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. Like you have a take, you don't want to come off it, and now
Look, I get it, House.
Yeah, I get it. I think he will have a little bit more pep in his step because he's like, by extension, he's rooting for Steph. So like, I think he'll have his swagger back a little bit. Bill likes Kuminga. He likes Klay Thompson. He likes a lot of these guys. I think they're both going to be over on Golden State, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. You're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you talk about it, I mean, Bill just loves Steph so much.
Yeah, and that's like, they're going to talk themselves into it. They're going to say last year was the year from hell. Bill be like, it was weird. Yeah, Jordan Poole and the Draymond thing. Now that's settled. Like this will be their pride.
They did the right thing by giving the leaker the death penalty of the video.
Yeah, they
brought it to justice.
They found the leaker, and then they brought him to Sir Ilan Payne. They lined him up, and they let everyone stab him like Jon Snow in that episode. If you want to hear more about this, watch The Watch with Andy Greenwald and Chris Ryan. Back on HBO. We don't. All the HBO shows, we just like them. It's not a partnership. Don't get up. It's fine.
It's off the books now. Premium television.
By the way, Russillo, you've been watching that telemarketers documentary? I love it. That's awesome.
Someone just recommended that to me the other day. I gotta see it.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
They were just.
I love a good documentary about shitty people. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But
I'm going on this Warriors line. I think the West is too good, and
you're going under.
The West is too good. They're too shallow. Somebody's going to get hurt somewhere for an extended period of time. I just don't think they have the horses to ride. Like I don't think Kuminga and Moody are good. I don't think Brandon Podcast is going to be ready to like be useful. And I just Wiggins and Looney will play a billion minutes, but someone of Klay, Steph, or Draymond is going to get hurt for an extended period. So
yeah. All right, so I went over. What did I do in the Western Conference team? Because I went over on Denver and Dallas.
Yeah,
and those are the only teams we talked about, right?
Yeah, those are the only West teams we've talked about. So,
shit. I don't want to go over on all the West teams because I don't think that they're.
We do have a lot of West teams left, though.
All right, Aaron in the comments says, "How many games does Steph play?" Let's see what Steph's played the last few years because he has had some injury stuff. Like Steph, 56, 64, 63. Then he had the one outlier season where he just played 5 games. So, and then if you go back further, 69, 51, 79, 79. Okay, so it's been, let's say, last 5 years.
Yeah.
He's missing 20 to 30 games.
You can't do minutes with Steph like during those golden era Warriors games because you just never played fourth quarters because they were always just beating it out of everyone. So
yeah, exactly. But last few years he's missing probably 25 games. Like that's probably more than a quarter of the season if you think about it like that. And like
the thing is, every star misses a quarter of the season these days.
Yeah, but Steph's so important to their success. Like, look at his on-offs still. Like, his on-offs are like, it's like him, Jokic, and Embiid have the best on-offs in the NBA every year.
Yeah.
But if that is the case, Tatum's also really good on on-offs too, despite your narrative. But he, if that's the case, MVP candidate, you'll be using the numbers in your favor next year. Well, luckily, Silver's taking them away from a year from now, so you don't have to worry about that. The nerds
back on PER.
We're back on our Hollinger bullshit.
It's like going back to the Middle Ages after the lapse.
Y2K, but for analytics. Like
we're back in the gruel. I'm using points per game. Like I'm a monk saying that a witch is
BPM.
which has turned my beautiful wife into a newt, and I'm using PER to raw plus minus to justify it.
Oh, it sounds really gross when you say it like that. So I've remembered a really tough time with this one because I'm gonna go over. I know eventually I'm gonna go under on some of these teams for the Western Conference, but I'm just gonna go over. I think that Chris Paul is an upgrade over what Jordan Poole was last year for them.
I would agree with that. Jordan Poole's one of the worst. Like, Jordan Poole's bad. He's going to be the tank commander for the Wizards. So yeah,
I kind of think Chris Paul, I think he'll kind of work in that system. They'll have to change they play a little bit, but I don't know. I think that I kind of like. I wish they signed like one more good veteran. I don't trust Dario Saric, but he is a good fit in that system in theory. So yeah, I'm gonna go over, but it's like a slight over. I don't feel great about it. All right, let's move on to the Houston Rockets, who have a over under of 31.5.
So the world's horniest coach is that agent. He's Chemical X here.
And Raphael Stone's trying to trade the contract of a domestic abuser so they can get a ninth man. Awesome. Good luck, dude.
So Dylan Brooks, I'm not a Dylan Brooks guy. I think he's kind of cheeks.
Yeah.
The Rockets won 22 games last year. So we're talking about a
10-win improvement because of Fred VanVleet, Ime Udoka, and Dylan Brooks, essentially.
And Amen Thompson and Cam Johnson.
Cam Whitmore. And I don't think that Cam Whitmore is really going to play that much, but he might play a little bit now that Kevin Porter Jr. is out of the fucking league. Yeah. Amen Thompson, look, man, like, the NBA is really good now.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and we've talked about how good the West is. I think this team is going to be much better than last year, and it might not reflect as much in the record.
I think you're exactly right about that.
Yeah. I think they could win 29 games and have a much better net rating and be a better team, but it's just hard.
Yeah, it's just going to be hard. Yeah, there's no free wins in the West, like, at all. Yeah. We just talked about them or the Blazers are going to be the worst team, and like,
they're better than like the 8 seed from the 2013 playoffs.
Like, it's unreal how good the league is now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, and I think that's absolutely right. I just think 31.5 is a lot of fucking wins for, a team like this, like, with how good the West is. Like, they're better than a few of the teams in the East, like notably like the Wizards and the Hornets, but like, I don't know. I don't see it. I'm going under.
Yep, I'm going under too.
Yeah,
I think that Bill and Russillo go under too.
Yeah, I think Bill will be like, Ime Udoka, I've seen it. He puts chest hair on these guys, like, and I don't know.
But what happens? What happens? The Celtics were 2 games under 500. What happens? Is Jalen Green cursing out someone in the locker room if that's happening halfway through the year?
God, I like Jalen Green. We're good now. We're cool.
We're boys.
We're boys.
He did make fun of him because Paul George called him the king of Houston, which is funny. He's like, "Oh, you're the king of Houston, or the mayor of Houston, or something." Yeah. He's like, "When did Jalen Green become the king of Houston?"
Yeah, I gotta say, I kind of agree with Bill. That was a little premature. Like,
certainly, but yeah. I will say, if Jalen Green is good and on the trajectory people had thought he was going to be before his rookie year, this is the season where these guys kind of start to show a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like Devin Booker started to show a little bit more in his third year. Look historically at these kind of like score first shooting guard types. This is the year where he could really, like, Anthony Edwards took the leap, even though Anthony Edwards started with a higher base. But like, this is where they really start to show. So they have the upside of having a bunch of really good young guys. Like, I love Tari. I think Şengün's pretty solid. I think that Jalen Green's got potential, but like, it's still like, young teams rarely ever win. And I don't think that they did enough in the offseason to make me feel like they're going to be like anything remarkable.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement there. Yeah, I'm going under. I think everybody's going under here. I just don't see a pathway. Like, even though they did get a little bit better, and I think their young guys are going to improve. Like, I'm sure Şengün will be better. Like, I'm sure like some of these other guys will, show out a little bit more. But like, the West is too hard, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's happening. So.
Yep. No, I'm in agreement. I think that they'll also agree. It's just too much, and they're too young, and they'll be fun, but not winning a ton of games.
No.
All right. Indiana Pacers.
One of the teams that tricked me last year.
I went higher on them last year,
yeah.
right? And they crushed it.
I went lower, yeah, and they owned me pretty badly. Yeah. I was gonna say, you and I both went. I think you beat me slightly last year. I think I went 20-10. You went 21-9.
We were very similar because a lot of our picks were the same. So
yeah,
that was probably the difference. Was the Pacers pick?
Yeah. There was like another one where I got you. Like, I think the Lakers or something like that. There was like
you faded we both faded the Lakers
because
the Lake was like
that's what it was. That was what it was. Is I locked the Lakers and you didn't.
Oh, okay, there it was. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but there was like a couple, but you did beat me last year by one or two. I'm trying to remember. I added them up, but we were both at about 2/3. We both were about, So, hey, I'm just saying, guys, listen to, if you bet every single one of the ones Trill and I do, you'll
make money. Yeah.
You'll probably make money. So
some of these odds are worse than others. Like some are like plus 200 or whatever. Some are plus 100. But
the Rockets over has more action than the under, which is very funny to
me. That's interesting. What are the odds on that?
It's minus 115 on the over, minus 105 for the under.
Yeah, they're all about the same. It's like minus 110. Yeah, sure. It's not.
Well, I mean, the Pacers is exactly identical. You know,
it's exactly 110 for the over and the under. So this is 38.5. I'm going over, and this is a lock for me.
Wow.
I'm very in on the Pacers being like a top 7 seed next year in the East.
I will admit they were better last year than I remembered. Like, I thought they were like 31. They were 35-47 last year.
They have a good coach. Halliburton is going to be an all-star again. They have a lot of good young talent that I think fits together really well. They added Bruce Brown. They have shooting everywhere. They're going to be this year's version of the Kings, basically. Like, they're going to pop in a way that surprises some people, but I think a lot of people are going to be in on this team, though. And I think that I'm just saying it now in September, whereas like every podcast before the year will be saying the same thing. Like Bill and Russillo will also be very in on like Halliburton leading the show and shit.
They're both going to be over for sure. So I'm thinking about this though. This is my contrarian brains for the exact reasons you just said. I've got my contrarian brain bubbling a little bit. I think teams are going to see them coming this year, and I think that's going to be different in a way. Like, when they're like on the scouting report and some of this stuff, like, and I'm like not as excited about like Obi Toppin, for example, or like
I actually think that he fits really well on that team though. They all they do is run, and he's going to be the John Collins of that team. He's just going to catch lobs, and he's going to be an energy guy off the bench, and he's friends with Tyrese Halliburton. They'll have chemistry. Like, they kind of have every sort of offensive versatility you could ask for. They have one of the best shooters in the NBA, one of the best stretch fives in the NBA. They have Jarris Walker, who, if he does play a lot from the beginning, he's going to be a nice connecting piece who can defend. Benedict Mathurin had a weird rookie year, but he gets to the line a ton. He'll get a lot of rim pressure. Like, they just have, and like Bruce Brown off the bench, like they have like 7 or 8 quality rotation players.
Yeah, I'm worried about somebody hitting a regression. Like, I don't think they're going to get the exact same performance from all their young guys. Like, I usually, how I've been able to like correctly guess the Raptors every year is like by riding this, like, were they better than you thought last year? Okay,
right.
First this year, like,
sure.
So that's what I'm thinking. But the other side of the coin here is that like the East is again going to be bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of the teams above them are the teams that were above them last year are teams that I'm picking to slide this year. Mm-hmm. And outside of Orlando, I don't see any team behind them getting better. So and it is only like 3 or 4 wins. So
don't look at the comments. What do you think their record was with Tyrese Halliburton last year?
It was probably really good. Because I forgot. I'm remembering that he got hurt. I'm gonna say they were.
He played. What's that?
How many games did they play without him?
I think he played 56 games last year. Just doing the math off the top of my head.
So he played 56 games. I'm gonna guess that they went 39 and 27.
That's way too. That's yeah. You also they were 28 and 28.
Oh yeah,
there were too many games, and also they were 500.
I was gonna say I made it 29. Okay, 500. Yeah, you can tell I'm doing math. In this. Look, I have to read my nephew like 8 bedtime stories.
I was gonna say you're burnt out, dude. It's 8:40 at night. You've been up since probably 5 a.m. So I get
it. I did a work day, and then I went into overdrive. Part of the reason the podcast is late is because my nephews were terrorizing my sister, and I had to get called in like the Texas Rangers to put them down. But no, you've talked me into it because I do think they're going to be an over, but I don't think it's going to be as clear cut of an improve. I'm not locking it, for example. Like I don't think it's a clear cut of a.
I'm locking it.
Okay.
I feel good about the Pacers this year. I like their team a lot. I think Rick Carlisle is just a really good coach. I think that Bill will gush about Tyrese Halliburton, of course, because he always does. He loves Halliburton, and he was on Halliburton before anyone. He said he would have drafted him with the 2nd pick.
Yeah,
I saw a TikTok. Someone made a TikTok of me, and it was me. It was Trill Bro Dude. He will also talk about Bruce Brown bringing some championship pedigree.
Yeah,
he'll talk about how much he likes the young guys. How Obi Toppin, he just thinks Obi Toppin needs another scene setting. And New York, he was underused, but he liked him.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle's a professional. Like, he'll bring it all up. No, yeah. We're all over. I'm a little bit over, but now
everyone's over here. Yeah,
we move on to our most interesting line. The one I was most interested to see are Los Angeles Clippers.
The Clippers. What is the Clippers line?
46.5.
46.5. By the way, I heard from a writer earlier on Twitter. The Clippers are locked in. Kawhi is apparently looking amazing. Paul George has this confidence. And also, I don't care because I just, of all the teams, who's going to be affected most by this new rule?
Yeah.
But then again, it's just a bullshit rule that you can just get around the load management rule.
Yeah, just say you're injured. Who cares?
Kawhi has knee inflammation. Can you prove that he doesn't? Because he has the knees of a 75-year-old man.
No. No, they're gonna be like borrowing like the visual effects from like like Hollywood while there's like a work stoppages to like have a squib go off and like Kawhi during shoot around, so he looks like he's like, I don't know, his loaded. By the way, the Clippers were 44-38 last year.
It felt like they were worse.
I'm sick of getting fucking tricked by this team, man.
So am I.
This is my Charlie and the football team. Like this is how I feel like, how like the line Zach had last year on the Sixers. I just can't quit the Sixers.
Yeah.
Like I want to desperately quit the Clippers is my line with the Clippers.
Yeah.
So even if I think this line is pretty fair, but just out of pure resentment and the fact I don't want to talk about this fucking team anymore, I'm going under. I think there's probably a pretty good chance they get James Harden, in which case you should do the over.
Sure.
But I just don't want to get tricked the same way again. This is an emotional pick for me. I'm sick of getting fucking deceived by these fraudulent fucking these injury losers.
It's not really fair to them because there have been 2 shortened seasons since they got Kawhi and Paul George, but they've never won over 50 games.
It's like, yeah, I don't want to be on the other side of this anymore. I don't care. Like 46.5 is a fine line. Like there's a pretty good chance they could win 54 games next year if like everything goes amazing.
Yeah.
care. I'm still going under because I'm sick of getting beaten by this fucking fraud team. Like,
Yeah. Well, what's different from last year? Terrence Mann became an all-star between age 26 and 27.
I mean, it's just that James Harden is disgruntled. Like, that's
Yeah.
what, like, and he wants to go there. So
I wonder, I think Bill's going to be committed to when these guys want to get to a team, they get to a team. House. If James Harden wants to play with the Clippers, he's going to be on the Clippers by the end of the year. Although he always does this with Daryl, where he's like, Daryl just won't make the trade. That's because Morey's his boy.
yeah, I was gonna say it's conflicting ideology. It's gonna be interesting to see which one wins out for Bill. Bill also hates the Clippers too.
Yeah.
I'm actually the most interested in what Zach Lowe is going to say about. He's going to tell the story about the they had to make the trade story for the 100 billionth time.
100% chance.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, they haven't signed their extensions. I don't know if you heard this, Ramona.
The Clippers have to have someone like obnoxious in the front office because all the writers are like mean to them. Like all the writers who are like tricked by like all the cloying, ooh, oh my god, like woo. Like all the people who like get deceived into like carrying water for people. Like the Clippers.
Well, that's why they only have Ohm to go on Zach's podcast and be like, oh no, Kobe Brown is an all NBA guy.
God. I know Marcus Smart probably would have been traded anyway, but the fact that Malcolm Brogdon's still on the team and like that trade, fuck, man. I also hate the Clippers.
Just another. I talked about it. I said it in the episode when we were talking about the front offices. Just another behavior from a man that works on Wall Street, let's say, and stays up all night, trading for Malcolm Brogdon. Why? Why do you need Malcolm Brogdon if you're the Clippers? He's just like a different version of Norm Powell.
do we think that's what it was? He was doing, let's say, the Taylor Swift VMAs dance right before. Like that was what was going on there. Like, I don't know. I hate this. I hate the fucking Clippers. I hate them so much. I think Bill and Russillo, I would almost lock them under. Like,
yeah, I feel like they're definitely both going to go under. I'm going to go under too.
They won't lock the under, but I want to lock them both saying under.
Yes.
Like
exactly. I'm going to go under as well, but I only because I just do not trust Kawhi. I do think that they're like I like the Kenyon Martin Jr. pickup.
Yeah.
Like they had a fine offseason. They didn't really make any other moves. And if they can trade for Harden, sure. But I'm also just like, I kind of don't think like Ramona on Low Post today said her gut feeling is that Harden just goes back to the Sixers and tries to make it work. And Kevin Hart, who is apparently like friendly with James Harden. I didn't even know that, but he said basically the same thing in an interview. He's like, I think he's going to come. He's a professional. He loves basketball. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, I have no fucking idea what's going to happen. Definitely, certainly has not displayed professional behavior before, but also who cares? If you want to trade, get out of there as much as you can. Like, I don't blame him for doing anything he's done before. But long story short in this is that I think that the Clippers, if they trade for Harden, it's an obvious over, but I'm just going to operate on the fact that this is their team, and I'm going to go under.
Yeah. We're in agreement. We're all under on this one.
Kawhi does play 60 games, though. They definitely have a chance to smash this.
Like I said, I mean, like I'm picking the under. I would not be surprised if they won 53 games. Like you told me they win 53 games. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like they were healthy and because they can be good. This is an emotional pick because I'm sick of getting tricked by them. So
yeah.
I'm just
Kawhi in his seasons with the Clippers, he played 57, 52, but those were both shortened seasons. And then he played 52 this past year. So Kawhi's going to miss 20 to 30 games. That's just what he does.
Yeah.
And if not more, you never know what could fucking, like he got hurt in the playoffs again.
Yeah. So it is what it is. It is what.
Last one, we'll do the Lakers.
Well, 15 would be the Grizzlies.
So we'll do the Lakers and the Grizzlies.
Yeah. And then more with the beautiful halfway mark. So.
All right. The Lakers are 48.5. I know what you're doing here. I don't even have to fucking ask. You're obviously under.
I'm not going to lock it, though. So that's how much respect I'm showing the Lakers.
So the Lakers have the same problem the Clippers have. It's just not as publicized. LeBron and AD they just miss a lot of games. Like they just will not play in. Although the Anthony Davis stuff is certainly publicized, but
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think it's almost the opposite of the public perception, though. I think LeBron is more of a risk to miss more games this year than Anthony Davis, to be honest.
LeBron played 55 last year, 56 the year before, 45 the year before that. And that was a shortened season, but still, that's still 30 games he missed almost.
And they have less. I feel like they have less people to replace LeBron's minutes with. It's like pretty much just Rui.
I think their team is way better than it was. When we were sitting here a year ago, do you remember when we were trying to figure out who the Lakers' third best player was a year ago?
They're a way better team than they were last. Yeah, no, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, like, I think if LeBron misses time, like, I think they can actually survive Anthony Davis missing time more than they could in the past because they do have Jared Vanderbilt.
Christian Wood, who else do they have? Jackson Hayes. Like, they have center depth.
Yeah, they have some center depth, and like those, between Jared Vanderbilt is a competent player. Christian Wood is an innings eater. Like they have. Sorry, I'm trying to stupid late fella. But I actually think that if LeBron misses time, they're going to have a harder time replacing LeBron than Davis, which is an inversion of what the problem was last year. Like I think Rui.
They have D'Lo, Reeves, Gabe Vincent. Like they have some guard depth.
Yeah, but they don't have forward. Like it's like pretty much just Rui.
Yeah, they don't have a ton of wings. Cam Reddish.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like that's tough. Like they're gonna have to play three guards, And I like Gabe Vincent a lot. I think Gabe Vincent's really good. I think Austin Reeves has proven that he's.
Taurean Prince is the only other forward they have, by the way, and he's like whatever. He's like a rotation player.
Yeah. End of the rotation guy. So
he's the average seventh man in the NBA.
Yeah. So I think they'll be like, okay. I just think they're going to be on the lower end of the West talent spectrum. Like, I think they're probably going to be a 500 team. I think they're probably going to end the season about where they ended up last year. Just because the West is way better. Like,
yeah.
So I think they're going to end up floating around 500 in the play-in tournament or around there, maybe the 6th seed. And yeah, probably somewhere between 41 and 44 games. I just think 49 that's too much for the West being as good as it is. So,
okay, so Bill will be. I actually think Bill's going to go over on this. Here's why.
Mm-hmm.
Bill is a Celtics fan, so he also thinks Gabe Vincent is great, just like you. I think Gabe Vincent is pretty overrated. I think he just gets hot every playoffs. But he's a fine player. He's just like whatever to me.
You've not tasted Gabe Vincent wrath.
He's out of Miami.
Yeah.
I haven't, dude. He literally is the best player in the league against the Sixers. At one point he was averaging 25 points a game in his career against the Sixers.
I'm not disrespecting Gabe. Gabe Vincent is one of the only Duncan.
He's out of hell. He's out of basketball hell in that it's basketball hell for us.
Yeah.
But you hate the Lakers too, so I guess him doing well. I don't really have a hatred of the league. I don't really care.
Yeah. He's lost his satanic powers in one way where he just becomes insanely good in the playoffs, and he's gaining satanic powers in the other way where he's going to be way worse, but he's going to make the All-Star team because of the media juice he gets in.
Sure. Yeah. So this is why I think that Bill goes over. Okay. He loves Austin Reeves. He's been calling him Jeff Hornacek. New Jeff Hornacek just dropped. He also will say he's definitely always skeptical of the Lakers because of the health stuff, which I totally get. But he'll say like they hate D'Lo though. I forgot about that. They'll have a 2 to 3 minute segment just bashing D'Lo. Does D'Lo think he's the best player on this team? That will be the thing.
It's a lot of D'Lo. It's a lot of D'Angelo Russell. I don't know how I feel about that. When do they trade for Kyrie Irving? That's what I'm thinking.
It will always just come back to the Kyrie trade.
Yeah.
With Bill. Can they keep Reeves in a Kyrie trade? I don't know.
I'd
rather have Reeves.
If they could turn, I was gonna say if the Mavericks could turn Kyrie into like Reeves and like Rui or something. I kind of like that for Dallas, to be honest. I don't know. And I mean that's another thing to consider. They might trade for Kyrie, but I also don't think that necessarily makes the Lakers better with what they're giving up, like trading for Kyrie. So
yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you though. I think Bill will talk himself into the over. I think Russillo will be on the under.
I'll tell you this much: I'm really struggling with this one. I think the Lakers are much better than they were a year ago. I think that last year we laughed at how high that, like, we were like, this team's gonna suck.
Yeah.
And they did for most of the year until they made some moves and they got rid of Russ and they completely turned their season around and they went on this winning streak and made the conference finals.
Danny Ainge betrayed his Celtics card by throwing them a lifeline.
Which is so funny because at the end of the day, that trade might end up actually being better for the Jazz than we had anticipated.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because they re-signed D'Lo and Beasley's not on their team anymore. And then the last guy left is Vanderbilt. And like, Vanderbilt's a really good regular season player, but I don't know if he's a playoff guy. So it's tough to evaluate. I really like their depth this season. And I think that I'm going to regret this, but I'm going over.
Wow.
I think they're going to win like 49 or 50 games.
I'm like the SimCity window. You will regret this.
I probably will.
Yeah.
I probably will end up regretting this, but give me 50 to 55 games of each of them. I like their depth. I think Reeves is going to have a big year. I think that they're just a normal team now in that they have like probably 8 guys that are like trustworthy and can be played. It probably comes down to LeBron's health, like you said, but we'll see. I'm gonna go over.
All right.
I like this. I like their roster. I think they have a really good team.
Trill is, by the way, 4-2 on overs with Western Conference teams now.
So far, we got some time.
Okay.
Here.
All right.
Also, keep in mind they will play teams in the East, and I think the East is weaker than the West. So how many times did I go over on the East? No, I went under on Detroit and Chicago.
And Atlanta and Brooklyn. No, you went
okay. Yeah, I think the East is not very good this year compared to.
You're in agreement.
Yeah. Okay.
Cheeks.
Last team here for the first part of this.
I love that we're doing 4 hours on Simmons and Russillo.
Let's go. Theorizing what they're gonna say 3 weeks from now. We're also giving our own takes here too, so that's most of the podcast.
Yeah.
So the Grizzlies.
Let's go. I'm back, baby. The heel
46.5.
This is like Hogan with the NWO. Me coming out. The 46.5 Grizzlies. I am over and I'm locking it. I'm locking the over.
Locking the over. All right, let's see.
Locking the over on the Memphis Grizzlies at 46.5.
All right, let's see. What was the Grizzlies' record without Ja? We're looking this up right now. They are 37-24. They are 13 games above 500 in games that Ja Morant does not play.
I'm telling you, they're gonna be like 19-6 when he comes back. Like, it's gonna be amazing. Even with the Western Conference being loaded.
They were only 11-10 this past season.
Yeah, well, Marcus Smart wasn't there to guide them with his
they have enough young guys to make some progress, certainly. Like, JJJ could take another step. Bane could take another step. Even Ja, when he comes back, can make another step. Their defense is going to be really, really good.
Steven Adams won't be missing half the year, probably.
Steven Adams is now finally 30 years old.
Is that true?
I think he literally just turned 30.
So much young. I always forget how young he came into the league. Like, it's crazy. Because he's also looked like he's been 43 for like 6 years too.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
He turned 30 2 months ago. So finally, Steven Adams is in his 30s. You know what's funny is that normally I feel better about their depth. They're good because they play as like a collective unit, and it probably won't matter as much. But like, I really kind of don't like that. Like, Brandon Clark's out for the whole season.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that really makes me a little skeptical. But
there are other guys like they have. Like, here's the rest of their team: Derrick Rose, who's washed. Yeah. Okay, Luke Kennard's fine. Like, he's a fine player. David Roddy, Xavier Tillman, Zaire Williams, Santi Aldama, Jake LaRavia, and John. Is Conchar still on the team?
Yeah, John Conchar is probably going to start.
John Conchar, yeah. Okay, so, and John Conchar. Like, I don't know. I just don't. I don't. They're all just like NPCs.
Kenneth Lofton.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he'll be obviously all NBA next year.
Trill is trying to just do away with Gregory Jackson II. Like he doesn't.
Gigi?
Yeah.
Gigi Jackson? I mean, people know I didn't like him in the draft, but he actually crushed it at Summer League. But I also am just like, Memphis is the one team that is willing to play rookies, and I actually respect their coach for that.
Mm-hmm.
He's very Spoelstra-esque in that, like, I'll play a first-year or second-year guy if he's good. But they have so many of those guys now.
Yeah.
Look.
They just don't have. You wish they had a little more shooting. Like that's the other thing that like Luke Kennard helps that, but like whenever Luke Kennard's on the floor, he's like kind of a liability. Like I don't trust that playoffs. Like I don't know. I keep making the joke that the Grizzlies are winning the championship this year because of Marcus Smart, but like that's the thing. A lot of the stuff I worry about with the Grizzlies, I more worry about in the playoffs versus like I still think even
they'll win like 50 games.
Yeah, I was to say, even with this reduced depth, I still do think that they're a regular season wins machine, even with the West being crazy. Like, even with, Ja being out for, however long he's going to be out, I still just think they're going to be a regular season wins machine. Like, and
they had back-to-back years as what, a top 3 seed? They were top 2 seed back-to-back years, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, like, look, the West was Mickey Mouse 2 years ago. It was pretty weak last year. It's a lot better this year. That might change. They might be 4th, but like I just think 47 wins, like they can that. Like I'm just locking that. That's like crazy. That's like I think that's like 5 less wins for a team that improved. Like, and I just
they were like 500 without Ja last year, so they were much better with Ja last year, and he's missing 25 games to start the year. I think Marcus Smart is way better than Tyus Jones for the record.
Yeah. So I think they'll be good. I just think they're going to be a lot of good. I think that I think their defense is going to be unreal. I think they're going to have the number 1 defense in the league, like by far, like hands.
Yeah, and even like you said, like you're concerned about the shooting. I'm more concerned about the shooting when Ja comes back with him and Smart positionally, and then because you have Steven Adams too, like it gets a little clunky, but like positionally, like Bane's a top 5 shooter in the NBA, and then positionally, Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of the best stretch bigs in the NBA. Even though like he has streaks where he'll be just like can't hit a fucking shot. Like they have enough shooting between Kennard and some of those bench guys, Conchar, Roddy, whoever. Yeah, I'll go over. I'll go over with them too. I know I'm gonna have to catch up with the unders in the Western Conference on the second half when we do that, but I feel pretty confident they could win like 48 games.
Okay. How do we feel about Bill and Russillo on this one? Will they continue shitting on Marcus Smart?
They might make it more about Jaws off the court stuff. I think they'll probably make it like, what if he's Stephon Marbury?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I see it a lot with these guys. They're on the top of the league. They're all up and coming guy, and then poof, it's gone like that.
And you just have Tim McMahon all of a sudden just like apparates,
drops in.
Yeah, he just jumps in and goes, and T. Morant drinks sometimes courtside, right? Yeah. Like what the fuck was that? Weird. Like,
I have a word for his arrest.
This man was drinking courtside yet again, like
with Usher.
That's one of those things. Yeah, it's one of those things where like Tim McMahon must have heard something that he doesn't want to repeat, but he wants to just keep darkly intoning about something nefarious, and he just keeps saying T. Morant.
Yeah, no, it's low key racist at this point. It's just got to the point where you can just say it how it is. Tim McMahon is being low key racist anytime he talks about it.
It's the fact that every time he brings it up, and I'm like,
yep,
man, like maybe once you bring it up, but like we're on like time 4 here. Like, please stop. Do we think
the 40-something-year-old white guy from Texas talking about it? Not a good look.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do we think Bill and Russillo are over on the Grizzlies under? This could be a coin flip for me. I don't know. To be honest,
I think that they'll.
Bill, I think the more I think about it, the more I think Bill's going to be like, this is a regression year. Like, they're good.
Yeah, probably.
Like, Jaren Jackson. This is what Bill's gonna do. He's gonna say
The rebounding with Jaren Jackson.
Jackson in FIBA.
Yeah,
Like,
the World Cup.
Yeah.
That told me a lot about him. That told me so much. He can't rebound.
Why couldn't he rebound? Like, I was talking to my dad about it. Dr. Bill, he's seen a lot of games. He was like, why can't that man rebound? And I realized, why can't he rebound? So yeah, I think they're gonna go under now that I think Bill's gonna listen to his dad, who is the crypt keeper who just always.
Russillo will definitely go over too.
Okay, yeah. So we'll go under on Bill, over on Russillo.
Yep.
Okay.
Rebounding wins championships, House.
It wins it. Well,
Bill Russell. Draymond Green.
I can't get over that you and I win exactly 2 hours on 15 too.
Let's go.
Let's
go. We'll be back early next week to talk a little bit about the second half of the league for 2 more hours to predict what Bill and Russillo will say and also give our own takes on the over-unders. People are going to be like, why? They're going to think that we put out 2 of the same episode because they're going to be so good. Part 2. Look, they do it in 2 parts. They do it in 3 parts sometimes. So.
Yeah. So we're just emulating their model. Now, given our 1 episode longer than their entire series, maybe, but
sure.
Hey.
Okay, I do just before we get out of here, one of my favorite Bill takes of all time was, speaking of Jaren Jackson Jr., was when Jaren Jackson Jr. was up for an extension 2 years ago, and Bill was like, should they just trade him to Golden State for James Wiseman?
Bill loved Wiseman, man.
Yeah. And he was a Memphis guy. Don't forget. He went to Memphis.
God.
Surprised
he didn't bring up that it was somebody's agent.
Yeah.
Who's Steph Curry's agent? Bill's
I don't even know who Steph's agent is.
Steph's agent, if it's Bill Duffy, he's gonna be like, well, Bill Duffy, he's from Chicago. That's a Chicago guy. So Steph, Chicago, maybe
Jeff Austin.
You got Zach LaVine back to Minnesota, Cat to Golden State, and Steph to Chicago.
Yeah. He loves to do that. He loves to bring in the agents. But the reason I think that's particularly funny is because a year later, not only did they extend Jaren Jackson Jr., but Bill loves to act like the worst thing you can do is extend a guy, good young player. And they got him on a very decent contract for the team, $25 million a year. Yeah. And a year later, they were like, we're not trading him for Kevin Durant.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wanted him to trade him for James Wiseman, who's a bottom 50 player in the NBA.
I mean, he's defensive player of the year, man. I like making fun of the small bean drafting team, but now I'm now in their corner. Oh, how I'm like Arthas in World of Warcraft 4 or 3, where I've joined the undead. I've picked up Frostmourne, which
You've changed so much.
Yeah, I'm part of their undead wraiths. I think GG Jackson is actually good now. So
let's go. I'm very excited. We're actually only 2 weeks away from training camp. We're actually gonna have some shit to talk about soon, especially with the Sixers.
We've got it, baby.
Let's go. All right. Thank you for listening to this. Subscribe to the UW Ball Patreon if you haven't already, and we'll be back early next week to do the second part of this.